I don't know. I'm not quite able to find the words yet, which is interesting. Normally, that's not a problem for me. But yeah, I guess I could say, I don't want to say new focus because I'm still focused on the same things,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
But I think, you know what it is? My framework is changing.
Okay.
My framework is changing. Um, I'm thinking about a conversation I had yesterday. I got the name of the event. That's terrible.
I mean, not
Thank,
really, because you go to a lot of events, so it's easy
yeah.
for stuff to like, slip through the cracks. Because when
So
you
I,
go to a lot of events.
Yeah, so I went to there was a Black Business Alliance. I think that's the name of the organization. They had a kind of like holiday party where they fundraise for 2026 and give out awards and recognition and all
Okay.
that fun stuff. But interestingly, I arrived early. And so I decided to go to the block, which is a restaurant that's literally right down the street from where they were having the event, like 30-second walk. Um,
Okay.
yeah, it was at the gym theater. And there was a gentleman whom I sat down with um, to grab a bite to eat and wait for them to open up the doors for the general public. And found out he's from New York. And I think he's done some traveling in some other states too, but predominantly New York and Detroit over the last handful of years. He's a VP with an insurance company. And we were talking about the biggest difference between conducting business in New York and Detroit. And hearing him, it was like right on time, right? Because he was talking about how things move faster in New York, but people are more disengaged from each other. Like in order to get access to certain people, it's almost like you have to go through a series of satellites, like either advisors, friends, before you have that conversation. But once you have the conversation with someone, things move really quick, right?
Okay.
And he was talking about that, and I asked him, juxtapose that with Detroit, where he was like, "Well, here in Detroit, you could be sitting next to someone who earns 20,000 a year, or you could be sitting next to someone who earns 2 million, 10 million a year." And he said, people will talk, they'll converse with you. Like people are very accessible in Detroit, and he said, but they move really slow. He said they move really slow. He says, he's ready to get a deal done. And someone's like, well, let's chat about that some more. Let's converse about that some more. He was talking about how, he'll be conversing with someone and they'll connect and, lay out the project, lay out the framework, lay out what good looks like. And he said, they'll have to have like a series of 2 and 3 conversations afterwards. And then I got the contracts, the document, the MOU. I'm ready to go. And, he'll send the document and it'll just sit for 2, 3 weeks. And he says, things just move a lot slower here.
Mhm.
And my response to him was like, he was kind of asking directly, like, why is that so? And what I said to him is that, look, number one, Detroit is a very unique ecosystem. Unlike Atlanta, unlike Philadelphia, unlike New York, unlike Los Angeles, like for a while, people did not immigrate to Detroit. So Detroit was
For a
in its
long
own,
time.
yeah.
For
So
a long.
Detroit was allowed to kind of develop in its own ecosystem. And as a result, it's kind of southern in a way that, yeah, people are accessible. People do talk to each other because the community is so small,
Yes.
right? I mean, a lot of times when you talk to someone from Detroit, you're going to know perhaps who their aunt or uncle is, or brother or sister, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? Detroit's like a big small hick town in many respects, right? Everybody kind of knows each other. You mention a block where someone lives at, and you can start talking about other people you know in that block, right?
Yeah.
I told him though the other thing is this, um, that is a blessing and a curse. But for the longest in Detroit, if you were earning 50K per year or 70K per year, and you're getting that good overtime, right? And you were pushing your income up to 100K. In Detroit, you were winning. If
We've
you were,
talked about that before.
yeah,
Yes.
you were
Yeah.
winning.
Yeah.
You could have a car. house, vacation. Some people blew their money at the bar every night or at the club. You know, they want to pop bottles and sip on Hennessy and take pictures of their steak and egg dinners. And it is, you know, it was what
Yeah.
it was. But
Right.
I told him, you know, the difference between Detroit versus all these other markets, and he kind of raised his eyebrows. He knew where I was going. Detroiters really don't know what money is. And they don't, Detroiters are, they don't understand oftentimes. When I say they, I'm saying generally, not everybody.
Right.
But a lot of times when you're dealing with people who are born and bred here in Detroit, they don't understand the speed of money. They don't understand um, that people who are earning 250, 500,000, a million, $10 million, they don't understand that people like that, it's hard to get to them sometimes. It's maybe more, people aren't as accessible when you're earning that type of income. But the people who are, when you're in that space, they're just moving faster. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they're constantly texting back and forth, right? They're constantly making deals. Like there's not a lot of once the things are consummated, once the what good is defined, and people understand what their roles are and whatnot. There's no more conversation. It's like, okay, let's get this done. Because at that level, that's the speed you have to be able to move at, right? You have to have the money already in the bank or be able to get your hands on the money quickly, right?
Mhm.
You don't have 2 and 3 months to get things together. You got to already come made. You have
Right.
to come ready to pull the trigger, right? And when you get to that level, because when you're at that level, no one wants to work with someone who's broke who can't commit. It's like, let's do it.
Can't produce. Yep.
Yeah.
Somebody who can't produce. Yep.
And so for me, that conversation was right on time, especially given the topic we're supposed to be talking about, which is, you know, what we're going to do differently or mistakes we made. And I know one of the things I'm going to do differently, and it's interesting because I had to finally start taking the advice that I oftentimes give to other entrepreneurs. Like oftentimes when I meet new entrepreneurs, or even entrepreneurs who I wouldn't even say are new or startups, but even people who've been in business 5, 6, 7 years, I'm always shocked, particularly if I'm dealing once again with Detroiters here with this zone of the Midwest. I think this is a Midwestern thing too, but Detroiters in particular. Um, I'm always shocked by how small people think. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And admittedly, I fell into that trap in 2025. Like I started letting people and their lack of experience, their lack of success, their lack of financial um prosperity start to rub off on me. I started thinking smaller. Like I was looking at my plans over the last 2 weeks and I could hear myself like outside of myself talk to myself like, what are you doing here, bro? Like you're putting together plans to earn 250, to earn 500 in one vertical and earn 100 in another vertical and maybe 50 in another vertical. I said, what are you doing? If you're going to play this game to earn 7 figures. Play this game to build businesses that can really generate the type of revenues that will put you in a place where you can really employ people, where you can really make an impact in the ecosystem, right? You can make certain types of deals and make certain types of decisions and be in certain types of rooms where you can really shape your personal economy, the economy of the people who are in your circle, but also just the environment in general. And for me, that's one of the biggest mistakes I made in 2025 that I am correcting right now. Like as I look at all the different endeavors I'm involved in, you know, I knew I fell off a little bit because it gotten to the point where my goal per day was to do about $300, right? That was my waking goal
Okay.
was to do at least $300 a day. If I wasn't, you know, that was like the bottom line. Like every day I need to be involved in either marketing something, selling something, creating a contract, creating an agreement, being involved in something that was going to put me at a point where I was going to average $300 a day. And I'll sit back once again looking at it, and I was like, I can't do that anymore. Like the new goal needs to be at minimum $1,000 a day.
Hmm.
And then when I thought about the implications of that, I was like, man, there's certain conversations I can't have anymore. There's certain disagreements that I can't have anymore. Like, um, it's like the value system of the people I engage with, the imagination of the people that I deal with. Um, the one thing that really caught my attention about this gentleman, because he's, once again, he's accustomed to not lollygagging over 100K deals. He's accustomed to cutting checks and getting involved in transactions and getting involved in endeavors that's producing millions of dollars, right?
Hmm.
And as we were conversing about the environment here in Detroit and talking about real estate, talking about the business solution space, talking about what's going on in the insurance industry, particularly over the last decade, um, it was really interesting. Like we didn't argue. There was no debate. Like he was very eager to listen and learn. He was very willing to take direction, right? To
Okay.
take coaching. He was really open-minded about the fact that I don't know it all. I'm doing good, but I know I can be doing better. And I'm sitting with someone that has some acumen or knowledge in a niche that I don't have. I'm going to listen. And I'm also, once again, I'm going to take direction. And it was the same thing for me. You know, I was listening to, number one, people's behavioral profile in terms of the type of people he works with. I was listening to kind of like indirect suggestions he was giving to me about what I can do to level up in my business endeavors. And then the coup de grace was before the event was over. I was actually getting ready to leave, matter of fact. I wasn't out the door yet, but I was headed that direction. And before I could get out the door, I felt somebody grab my arm, and I'm looking like, man, do I have to bolt someone in the face? Like, I mean, the person literally grabbed me enough for me to shift my body weight, and I was,
Did
you
they
know,
grab you hard?
it wasn't, it was just like it was enough to shift my body weight. Let's put it that way. Now, admittedly, it probably wasn't all that difficult. I was on my second helping of some type of cognac that was there,
Okay.
but
So you're
um,
still tipsy.
but the
Okay.
bottom line is I wasn't tipsy, but I was feeling it, and it was him, and he immediately introduced me to another individual who was there, who's done very well in the real estate space, done very well in the business consulting space, and he was like, "Look, we got to put a date on the calendar next week. We got to talk or something. Give me a call tomorrow. Let's put the date on the calendar." And let me tell you, that's totally different. That was a totally different interaction versus a conversation. I got to be careful I say this because I've had a conversation with someone this week. I don't know. I don't want the person to be listening to this and thinking I'm talking about them. So, but if the shoe fits, wear it. So I've had a couple conversations like this where I'm conversing with someone, and it's not to pop my collar or to talk ish, right? Because by all means, I'm still developing. I'm still growing. I'm not even 1/10. I'm probably going to earn more in the next 2 to 3 years than I probably have over the last 10 years. And it's not like I'm a slouch. You know what I mean? And it's like I'm having conversations with people that don't know what a $30,000 day feels like. Legit, right? I just closed a deal that's going to generate 5-figure in revenues, just recently. Um, I've managed millions of dollars of other people's assets. And quite frankly, I know what it's like not only to earn 30K, I know what it's like at 30K sitting in the savings account without a destination, right? Um, I've built things, and it's like I'm sitting across the table sometimes, or I'm on the phone conversing with people who are trying to tell me how to do things or what they're not going to do, or debating me about a strategy or tactics. And man, I was like, no, I'm not having those conversations anymore. I'm not dealing with
You
it.
have to. You don't have to. That's the beauty of it. 'Cause you don't have to.
Yeah, I was like, No, 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 no,
Yep.
no, no. You, man, don't even get me started. So I realized that I was not surrounded by the right people in 2025. I wasn't always the sharpest or smartest person in the room, but too often that was the case.
Mhm.
Often, you know, I wasn't the most accomplished person in the room, but too often that was the case. And meeting individuals, like I just got off the phone with a gentleman. I'm not gonna brown nose, but just say the guy's a deca millionaire. I'm not gonna mention his name or his company. But man, having the interaction I had with him over the last 40 hours was just so refreshing. To talk to someone who actually appreciates where you're coming from, to talk to someone who's actually thinking big and it's like, yeah, I like where you're going with this. Let's talk about how this can happen as opposed to why it can't happen. Right.
Synergy of that kind of
Yeah.
conversation. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna be like savage with my schedule in terms of having more of those interactions, right? I had someone literally this week tell me, Juwan, why are you so serious? Like, why are you so urgent all the time? Just relax and chill out. And I'm looking at the person and I'm like,
Like, I'm not taking advice from you.
I'm not taking advice from you, but it just told me that the alignment wasn't there. The person isn't accustomed to operating at a certain level.
Correct.
Like, in order to have freedom, oh man, the thing that really drives me crazy, if I hear this come out of someone's mouth, and I don't care who you are listening to this, if we're having a conversation, you start talking about money isn't everything, and I just want to have a positive impact in the community, and I just want to touch people, and I just want to, I just want to help people and create community. Community costs. Like having spaces to have conversations, to have events, to launch projects, you do know there's a cost to that. You
Absolutely.
do know that if you are asking people to exchange their time to support your endeavor, there's a cost to that. Like there's an expense to that.
Hmm.
You do know food costs. You do know, and I'm not talking about food like food at a damn luncheon or or at a potluck. I'm talking about it costs to feed people in a variety of different ways. To feed people, providing professional development, business development, personal development, yes, and physically food. So people's stomachs are not touching their back. It's hard to get shit done with people when their stomach is touching their back, right? There's a cost to business. There's a cost, like you got to begin to own things in your ecosystem if you really want to change the ecosystem. Like beggars can't be choosers. It can't be a situation where you constantly have to go to other people for a handout to get something done. At some point, you got to build things that you have ownership in. And you got to have the means to reward people for participating, right? I mean, kids got to eat. College tuition has to be paid for. Investment in yourself, whether it be classes, courses, you're going back to school, you're paying for conversations with people who have achieved a certain level. All there's an expense to all those things. And it's always fascinating when I hear people talk about money isn't everything, and that's not no, then what are we talking about? Like,
Well, I think when people say stuff like that, you have to, of course, you want to be respectful of everybody's opinions and what their thoughts processes are. But a lot of times when people say stuff like that, you have to consider the source
yeah,
and where their mindset is. Because I have found that when people say stuff like that, they're coming from, and this is not directed at anybody in particular, but it's more of like a poverty mindset.
they're
Like,
coming from a place of scarcity.
yeah, like
Yeah,
you're not used to having certain things, so you become accustomed to it. And
yes,
it's something that you're okay with not having versus someone who's like you said, they're like, "Oh, you need to relax." No, I don't need to relax. I need to crank it up times 10 because
yeah,
I'm not where I want to be with my professional development, in every area of my life, I'm trying to improve on a daily basis. So I'm operating on all, four cylinders, 10 cylinders, whatever you want to call it. But I think a lot of people, when they say stuff like that, it's because they're used to, um, like the limitations and they've
Yeah.
become accustomed to it. And so when they say stuff like that, it's like kind of making them feel more comfortable with that overall type of mindset as opposed to somebody who's like, hey, I'm trying to work on my professional development, I'm trying to work on my business development, I'm trying to work on, my social circle, the people I'm in the room with. Like you said, you don't want to be the smartest person in the room. You want to be in rooms where you're absorbing new information like a sponge and meeting the right people to help you level up your business. That's your goal. That's what is driving you, But for those people making those kind of statements, that's not really where their mindset is, because we've all had those conversations with people where they say, like, oh, well, you need to relax, or, well, you can't take it with you, that kind of stuff. And it's like,
Mm,
that's one way of looking at it. That's
yeah.
an interesting point of view. And even what you were saying with, like, people wanting a hand out versus a hand up,
Yes.
there's a lot of people who feel like they're owed something. And yeah, and that kind of mentality is definitely is rampant,
Yeah.
so I think some of the things that I know that I made a mistake with, 2025 is entertaining that kind of mindset,
Hmm.
due to having long-term relationships with people, professional relationships and personal relationships, where people feel like because you're at a certain place doing certain things that you should do X, Y, and Z for them, because, or you have like
Oh
a
my
long-term,
goodness.
you
Yes.
have like a long-term, professional relationship with someone, and it's like you can see that they're really not performing at the optimal level, but instead of just, you know, nipping it in the bud, you're like, okay, let me see, no, you have to be able to quickly um notice what it is and pivot and then execute. You can't hesitate, because if you do, the only person losing is you, because
Yeah.
you're not getting what you need out of that relationship. It's not symbiotic. It's like, okay, you're giving, you're paying, for whatever services, or, however it goes, and then you're not really getting what you want in return. So I think for me, that's definitely something that I would do differently. And then too, like we've talked about this before, wasting a lot of time on people who just don't get it. Like trying to drag them along, as opposed to people who are like, oh, that sounds like a great idea. Where can I sign up at, or how can I get more information about that?
Mm.
Like you don't want to deal with the crowd of people who are like, well, that sounds like a scam, or, like,
Oh my goodness.
negative,
Yeah.
yeah, the negative thought process behind you introducing a new activity or a new idea to them. And it's like, well, like if it sounds like a scam, like, do you really think
It's
I would be involved with something that sounded like a scam? I mean, like, what's going on here?
yeah. It's like it's a way to assuage their ignorance, right? For them to be comfortable in their ignorance, right? Or you have this mindset, and you'll find it particularly in the entrepreneur community, unfortunately, where the assumption is if you are successful, that means you had to have done some dirt to get there, right? You must be exploiting people. You must be taking advantage of them. It's like, it's a refuse to accept that no, there are some people who are just having more valuable conversations than you. There are certain people who bring more value to people's lives. There are certain people who operate in a spirit of abundance and more effectively in an hour period of time. Like there are people out here that can get more done in an hour than people who will have to grind and work for 3 and 4 days. Now, whether that's because of relationships they have, if it's because of technology, right? Because they're further ahead in the game, and just more capable. They have more know-how, more skill set. They've iterated more frequently than you. Um,
A
and
better mindset.
yeah, I mean, all those things, right?
Yeah,
It's like, and you know, like I said, it's really, you can get caught up real easy, and waste a lot of time and energy with folks like that. It's fascinating. But anyway, on a more positive note, the other thing that I am really looking to do differently as well, and I've been interviewing marketing specialists for the last 2 weeks. I'm probably going to continue. It's not probably. I'm going to interview some other marketing specialists over for the next 2 weeks as well, where for the first time in my entrepreneur journey, I'm going to start spending money on my ads. I'm going to start spending money like on the market. I'm working diligently to be able to set aside a budget. Um, 'Cause I haven't done it, right? I mean, I've had employees, I've had people that I've contracted with, and vice versa. But in 2026, the goal is not simply to use my sales management skills to generate the revenues, because you can it can only take you so far. At some point, you have to market effectively to fill up your funnel enough to actually pay for the organism or for the business you're looking to build. And
absolutely.
yeah, and that's something that I'm gonna have to do. Like I've realized that as I just took on somebody to help me in one vertical, I'm probably gonna hire two other people within the next 2 months. And now I'm not responsible for 1099s. I'm going to be responsible for W-2s, which
Okay.
means they're going to be relying upon me to pay their bills, take care of their families,
Hmm.
pay their car note, right? And you have to be able to generate enough incoming traffic to sort through the right clients to be able to afford that type of responsibility if you want that level of success, right? So it's not even something I'm doing differently in 2026. That's something that's going to be different, period.
Oh,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
I'm
it's a
looking forward to that.
level of responsibility too. When you're
Yeah.
responsible for, like, these people are depending on you to make it happen. Every week you got to come up with payroll, rain, sleet, or snow, it doesn't matter. Deals falling apart, whatever, you got to still come up with that.
Oh
It,
my
it
goodness.
it's definitely yeah, it's a lot of responsibility, and
Hmm.
um you definitely have to have the right things in place and multiple streams coming in to be able to cover sometimes if something slows down or something falls through, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's a huge responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting, right? But yeah, those two things off the top of my head. That's an error in judgment I made in 2025. There were multiple occasions where I had enough revenue set. I had money that didn't have a destination that I should have deployed in marketing, and I didn't, just because it just wasn't a habit, or because, quite frankly, I let my own ignorance get in the way. I was like, I don't know anything about that, so I'm not going to mess with it, right?
Do you feel
Um,
like you had analysis paralysis as it came to that?
I don't think I've had analysis paralysis, because what I will admit is the majority of the time, if I learn something new, I'm not that person that's going to spend too much time inspecting the roots while other people are picking the fruit. If someone gives me a good ideal or a way to improve my framework, I apply it immediately. That millionaire circle event that we did earlier this year. Like I read that in Jack Canfield's Success Principles, right? The Millionaire Circle.
Hmm.
And in less than 2 weeks, I'd already figured out how I was going to execute that, right? That is the type of person I've always been. However, I've always subscribed to this belief that you should double down on your strengths, right? And hire or delegate for your weaknesses. But there comes a time in every entrepreneur's development where you have to develop yourself, right? And for the longest, I delegated marketing ideals. For the longest, I delegated the responsibility of even um, putting people in place to other people. And number one, they weren't fit for the job. They weren't fit for the responsibility. But number two, part of the reason why I didn't want to engage is one thing not to engage because it doesn't make sense. Because monetarily, it doesn't make sense. Because it's
Hmm.
going to cause operational lag. That doesn't make sense. But there's something else totally different about not making decisions simply because you're ignorant about it. And I made up my mind in a month of this, well, till in November, an entire month of December, that I'm not going to be ignorant about how to utilize ads, how to market more effectively. I'm not going to be creating the campaigns. I'm not going to be, you know, online spending 2 and 3 hours to executing a lot of these things, but I needed to understand it better so I can deploy my capital in a way where I get an ROI, right? I don't want to experiment. I'm not trying to play around like that. So, yeah, yeah, it was just being myopic. It was being myopic.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm determined, like, I know in 2026 to achieve the goals and to make the type of progress I want to make, my modus operandi must change, right? It must change. So, um, and going back to how it started the conversation, it's like I've been beating your table as much as I can to let these entrepreneurs know, man, look, $150,000 in Detroit real soon, you're gonna be broke. Straight up. It's coming. It's happening. Right? The cost of real estate, the cost to acquire a car, the cost to take vacations, the cost of groceries, the cost of getting certain spaces, right? Um, like for the longest, people would get upset if you ask them to pay $10 or $20 to get into a space. Look, them days are gone. Okay. There are people operating in our ecosystem and they're gaining traction and they are creating certain types of spaces where to pay 150, $200 to get in a room, it
Par
is,
for the course.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
powerful.
par for the course.
It is what it is,
Yes, it's
you
par for the course,
know?
depending
So
on the type of circles you're trying to run in.
yeah, well, it's not even the types, look, it's the type of circles that are going to be required,
Hmm.
right? It's going to be required. Um, and, in many respects, I think that's a good thing. It's going to force people to raise the bar in terms of their expectations of themselves and the people around them. It's going to force them to think bigger. Like you can't just bootstrap your entire entrepreneurial journey. Like it only takes one issue, one challenge, one problem, one error in judgment, haters, whatever the case, you're just too vulnerable.
Yes.
When you're just way too vulnerable. It's too much BS that can happen. And a lot of it is out of your control. So in any respect, the other thing that I have become acutely aware of in 2025 that I'm going to be more intentional about is gatekeeping is real.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, sometimes gatekeeping is happening because you're not supposed to be in that space. You're not willing to make the investment. You're not willing to show up a certain type of way.
Hmm.
You're not willing to work on yourself. But then there's a type of gatekeeping that occurs where people are so busy scratching and clawing and fighting for crumbs on the table, they don't want anyone else to be able to get to the table as well.
Right.
And I'm excited about the fact I took on my first international client. And I shouldn't say my first international client, my first international client in a particular vertical.
Okay.
Um, and I'm gonna spend a lot of time in 2026 looking for clients that are not just outside of Detroit or outside of Michigan or outside the Midwest or outside the markets that I've particularly played in. Like I'm going to make a concerted effort to become more fluent in working with people internationally.
I think it's super important because I have quite a few. clients that I'm working with that are outside of the United States.
Hmm.
And I think it's important because there's different business, um, like things that go on outside of the United States that can help you sharpen your skills and
Hmm.
be versatile in dealing with different kinds of people from different places. Different people
Hmm.
have like different mindset. Like for example, I have a client who's originally from France but based in Singapore. And just having conversations with him and the way that he processes information is very different than, say, somebody from Argentina,
Hmm.
very different mindset, very different communication. I mean, obviously, my clients from Argentina were conversing in Spanish, and that's a whole different um, way of thinking as well.
Hmm.
Because if you think about it, like just think of you're working with, say, a client who in their country, there is no banking system where people can go to a bank and, hey, I want to
Yeah.
purchase the house. You either have the money
Oh,
or
you don't.
you don't.
Hmm.
So it's a completely different type of culture, a completely different type of mindset. And,
Yeah.
and for me, it helps me to keep my skill set sharp because I'm working with someone who, they're coming from a place where that's not even possible. Over here, you've got banks that'll, help you, not only help you get a house, but they'll give you down payment assistance. They'll, warm up your baby bottle and change your pamper for you. They're
Hmm.
giving you everything you need to be successful. Whereas in some places, that's not even a possibility.
Hmm.
That's a foreign concept. They're amazed that that it's even possible here, so I think it definitely working with international clients is going to take you to a whole nother level with just even
Yeah.
understanding human nature, people, period, because people think very differently. It's easy for us in the United States to think like we've arrived, we're at the top of the food chain. The United States is, everything that people aspire to be. But that's not necessarily true for other people in other parts of the world. There's completely different mentalities, completely different ecosystems, completely different, socioeconomic situations. It's just very different. And I think it's important as an entrepreneur to keep an open mind. And I think that working with people internationally helps you to do that. It helps you to realize that, there's other places where people are doing business and they're winning and they're successful outside of the United States. I think that's
Yeah.
super important. And it helps you to have a proper perspective about, maybe different opportunities even for yourself outside of the United States to, take on opportunities and to excel, professionally.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, the client I just took on, she's on the continent, she's on the African continent. I'll leave it at that for the time being.
okay.
But man, I gave her a laundry list of things to do. We had a quick powwow for like 20, 30 minutes, gave her a laundry list. And normally when I give someone a laundry list, I expect them to get around to it a week later. I just expect it. I only expect them to execute on 20% of it. Right. That's just that's what my experience has been all the times with people. Man, this young lady got it all done in like 3 days. She was hitting me up on WhatsApp. Like, got this done, this done, this done, over the count, got this operating agreement. I was like, wow. Um, yeah, I mean,
Because she's focused.
yeah. And you know,
That's why.
and also when you are in those type of environments where, like you said, there's no one to change your diaper
Hmm.
and deliver you warm milk, you move differently, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Look, I know there are advantages. I know there are programs in place. I know there's resources that are made available oftentimes to people who immigrate to the United States. But you are being very closed-minded. You're being very obtuse in your thinking if you think that's why immigrants come over here and crush it. They come over here and crush it for the reason you just said, right? And I'm not being redundant, but I mean, look, yeah, there are other countries that you go to, you have 20, $30,000 to buy whatever it is you want to buy to start that business. Like I said, there's no banking, there's no lending, there's no what are these all these different programs you have, these GoFundMe's and so
Don't
like
hit GoFundMe.
no, I mean, so because I have a lot of I have a lot of Nigerian clients.
Hmm.
And I see them, man. Like I remember when I started working with them 10, 15 years ago. And I just remember like how excited they were. They're like, wait a minute, I can get a loan. I can, y'all gonna help me with this. I can do, yeah, you know. And we take that for granted, right?
Even the work ethic of somebody from a different place, it's different. Like when you like, let's say you partner with some contractors, right? Some
Yeah,
contractors from, let's just say Venezuela, right? Because I have
yeah.
a team that's from there. They're there at 6. They're working. You stop by the job site unexpectedly. They're working, and they're not leaving until it's dark out.
You know what it is?
So it's because they
Oh,
know what it is to not have.
yes.
Period.
Our when we're being savage, that's their normal, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
they know if I don't win, I'm gonna be on the street eating carcasses off the street to feed myself and my family. And it's like, admittedly for me, I'm so removed from that. I have to manufacture that savagery, but they come with it built in,
Hmm.
right? I have to remember what it was like to eat government cheese. I have to remember what it was like to not have when I was younger. I have to remember the tight places I've been in and be like, okay, like I'm never going back there again. But
Correct.
and people say, well, Juwan, you're being too savage, you're being too urgent, this, that, and other. Well,
There's no such thing.
that's baked into the cake for a lot of individuals who come over here from other places, right? That's their everyday. That's their modus operandus, and that's why they run circles around us, right?
Absolutely.
They don't have time. Once again, this whole time and moving quickly, right? Um, it's like, man, like none of the foreign business owners I work with, even some of the like, for instance, the gentleman I met at that when we had the Christmas party or Thanksgiving party at the title company, right?
Hmm.
There were several foreigners I met there. And the moment they pulled up my website on their phone, the moment they looked at what I was doing in the community, it was like, here's my WhatsApp, let's talk. I'm calling you tomorrow. And some of them I did talk to the following day. What multifamilies, what commercial properties you have lined up? Let's go. Right? Let's go. Um, it's like so often people waste so much time like not minding their business, like not minding their own business. They're in other people's stuff. They're in other people's business. They're other people's affairs. They let like some of the most superficial, nonsensical stuff distract them from the work.
Right. Mind the business that pays you.
Yes. Yeah.
Generating activities. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
like,
Yeah. Don't pocket watch.
oh
Don't
my
worry
gosh.
about what somebody else has got going on.
Mhm.
That's a
It's pettiness. And when you don't,
yeah,
when if you're really successful people don't have time.
to do that.
No,
They don't.
no, no, no.
Um,
So,
I think too, another thing that for me for 2025 that I've fallen short on is time management,
mm,
proper time management, spending too much time beating dead horses,
mm,
trying to convince, cajole, encourage to just have it be a complete and utter waste of time and a
yeah,
not generating activity. And I've decided, both personally and professionally, to do away with that. Like once I get to that point where I'm like, yeah, I don't really see this progressing, quickly just doing away with it, dripping on
Mhm.
it, and moving on to the next interlude. Because I think that a lot of times that's energy spent someplace else, focusing on something else that could be a lot more financially feasible and just like from a time standpoint, maybe building something else up that is going to eventually turn into something.
Yeah,
So,
you have to set, like for me, and I have not been religious about it. I was religious about it today, and I'm going to get back to it, right? You have to have a day where all you do is you focus on what you'll hear people sometimes refer to as the signal and shut out the noise, right? Like for me, Fridays, I'm going to intentionally set aside 3 hours, maybe as much as, given how early I wake up, and if I'm not involved in dropping off the kids in the morning, I'm going to set aside 3 to 5 hours where every Friday I'm just going to focus on the signal. I'm going to take inventory of everything that's been transpiring, take inventory of the conversations, take inventory. I'm going to look at my calendar, look at my time commitments. I'm going to ask myself that these things contribute to $1,000 a day. And if it's not, and it's going to be a lot of people who are upset. There's certain places I'm not going to show up anymore. Once again,
but
it's
that's okay
certain,
though.
yeah,
That's okay. You have
it's
to
certain,
do what's
yeah,
best for yourself because honestly, like self-preservation always comes first before anything else. Because if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else.
yeah.
Number one. And number two, you had asked me a question about changing different things up that's more
Mm-hmm,
suitable to your schedule. And I feel like that's definitely
mm-hmm,
for sure. Like that.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I think absolutely because you've already arrived. You already know how to do A through Z. So if you're, offering it to other people, then it has to be what's convenient for you, not convenient for the people who are seeking your guidance.
Yeah,
Period.
yeah.
And
If you give away
sounding
for free,
arrogant.
people,
Yeah. Yeah, it's not
yeah.
sounding arrogant. It's just the bottom line of bottom lines. Like,
Oh,
like it's like somebody calling you and putting you on hold, like, oh, hey, so and so such as, oh, hold on a minute. No. Like,
mm,
it's just, yeah, it's just not gonna work, especially when
mm,
you know what you bring to the table and how valuable your time truly is. And
yeah,
those people who do have the benefit of your mentorship and being able to, interact with you and learn from you, it won't be a problem for them because they already respect your time.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. If you give it away for free, people don't appreciate it. It's like giving a young man a car. Um, if a young man has to run himself to the ground for a handful of years and pitch pennies and not go out on dates and buy that car with their own money, man, they're gonna spit shine that car. Right? They're gonna spit
absolutely.
shine it every
They'll
day.
be out every Saturday
Uh,
cleaning up the rims,
yep.
vacuuming it out, wiping it down with Armor All, shining it up, all that.
It's the same thing. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's and for individuals who may be listening to this who are in my ecosystem, I'm glad you said that because you have to share it again. It's not a diss to you, but it's just basically saying, look, in order to maximize and really do the things that are required to make the ground more fertile for everybody, certain places can't show up anymore, right? Just it's like when you are working, like my mentors who are around me, the people who pour into me, the people who open doors for me, I want them to be as successful as possible
Absolutely.
because the more success they enjoy, the more I can contribute to their level up, the further ahead they can go, the farther ahead they can go, the more that opens up doors to everyone else. Like a rising tide lifts all ships. I want to see them win. I want to see them do well. And I know because of that, there's certain conversations they can't be involved in. There's certain conflicts they don't need to be privy to. It's certain Um, I'm thinking about some of my mentors now. Like it's just certain stuff I don't even bring to them anymore. It's like I refuse to.
And
Right?
that's okay. But that's okay though. I
Yeah.
mean, every situation isn't the same. And sometimes
Hmm.
you do have to like draw a line in the sand and say, I'm just not doing this anymore. And
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, we've all been there and done that where like you have gotten to a certain point in a situation professionally or personally where you just were like, okay, this no longer suits me and I'm moving in a different direction. And
Yeah.
it's not personal. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. You
Yeah.
know, and sometimes it's okay to put yourself first and say, okay, this, yeah, no, I'm gonna, put my time and energy over here and effort here, and that's what works best for me.
Mhm.
Period.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing
It's
wrong with that.
interesting, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very
Um,
interesting. But I mean, people, if someone's gonna get offended by it, then that's something they need to work through.
and then, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
man, it's so many different directions we can go with this conversation,
I think we've done a
but
good job of staying on task because like the goal was to talk about the things that the mistakes because I mean first of all you have to like really be like super objective about yourself to point out your own flaws and then
yeah,
to put it on like this kind of format where people could make comments and like gun you down if they wanted to like oh this and that blah 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 um you have to be
you know why people,
transparent you
you know
but
why, there's a reason why, broke people hate, because hateration is free. That's why they hate,
Well,
because
I was just
it's
saying
free.
that to be able to point out your own mistakes and point the finger at yourself and say, I'm holding myself accountable for the following areas where I fell short. This
Yes.
is what we're
Yeah.
saying. We're saying these are the areas where we fell short. And it's
Mm.
100 more because I was
Oh
taking
my goodness.
talking and I'm like, I just have like a whole little paper full of notes of like different stuff that I'm taking notes on because it's like, oh yep, I messed up there too. Yep, that was terrible,
Hmm.
because in order to improve, you have to reflect and you have to be objective about your shortcomings and also to
Yeah.
reward yourself in the areas where you are strong and where you are effective and efficient, and
Mhm.
because when you brought up the thing about the international client, I was like, you know what, that's super important because I work with so many different kinds of people from all over, and sometimes you get frustrated because you're like, oh my God, like what, but then it helps you to think about things from the standpoint of not everybody is looking at the fishbowl from this perspective,
No.
and it helps you to
Mhm.
be more open-minded and opens up doors for you too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, Spend time in places where your talent and your intellect and your passion is appreciated.
Absolutely. And spend time with people
Yes.
appreciate those things too. Because it's
Yep.
nothing worse than spending time with people who don't appreciate those things and who
Hmm.
want to vilify you um, because maybe they don't agree with whatever or they're taking something you're doing like as a personal attack against them.
Well, nine times out of 10, if you're around petty people, that's what's happening, right?
Absolutely.
Your successes, your progress is offensive to them because it shines a light on what they're not doing. And then, of course, you're moving like a foreign animal too. It's like you're different, and I don't like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're
Absolutely.
not familiar. You're not operating in a way that makes me comfortable.
Correct.
Um, it's fascinating, right? Because you look at the entrepreneurs that we celebrate, you know, and popular cultures, put it that way. If you start naming off those entrepreneurs, you start naming off those athletes, you start naming off those musicians, you start naming off people who are really elite, right? The higher up the food chain you go, the more unreasonable they become. right? The more unreasonable they become. It doesn't mean that they're a-holes. It's just their expectations of what is good changes. It's different.
Absolutely. And that's okay.
Yeah,
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 nothing wrong with that.
yeah.
And once you get to a certain level of success, you feel entitled to do those things. I'm
It's
sure.
not an entitlement. You have to.
Hmm.
You have to because there's a certain success loves speed.
Right.
And if you are being distracted and if you are carrying dead weight, you can't move with the speed that you need to move with. Um, if you're putting out like fire, like conversation gentleman I had last night was like, if you're earning 100K, you have different problems and different priorities than people who are earning 30. If you're earning 250, your problems, your conversations are different than people who are earning 100. If you're earning 500 or a million, once again, your problems and conversations are different. And that is kind of like what you have to contend with, right?
Yes.
Um, one of my mentors, you already know probably who I'm talking about. I'm not going to bring $30,000 issues to his table. I'm not going to bring $100,000 issue to his table. If I'm going to bring an issue to his table, a problem needs to be solved. There needs to be seven figures attached to it, right? Otherwise, I'm a distraction, right? And yeah, man, it's just something that I don't. Not enough entrepreneurs understand.
I agree.
Yeah, yeah,
I agree.
yeah. So I was supposed to be at this luncheon here at this place. I just missed it. Um, so
What time is it over?
it looks like now.
Okay. What kind of luncheon was
Here at Incabizo, I think for a lot of the entrepreneurs are have offices here in Warden ecosystem.
it? Okay.
Um, I
I
knew this was gonna happen though. Like,
Oh, because of our time that we decided to
well,
record, or
it was that, and I had a couple other time commitments this morning that I needed to get done. Like I said, I just closed on that. I just wholesaled that multifamily,
okay.
and I was dealing with some of that this morning, which kind of threw off my schedule.
Of course.
Um,
I mean, anytime you have a closing, like whatever else you had going on is irrelevant because that's a high priority activity and you can't not attend to it. It's like having a baby. It's just this is what's
oh my
going on right
God.
now.
I
It's
was
seriously.
I
It's
was
like
like,
this is what's happening right now. It doesn't matter what else you had planned for today. The
mhm,
baby's coming now. So
yep,
it's just a wrap. It's everything else is like on the back burner. And that's
yeah,
just closings go. Just imagine having two or three in one day, and you're like, okay, I'm not attending any of these because I need to be by my computer, like hands on, like ready to do whatever. So I get it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I was like, I was sitting down thinking to myself, okay, I'm gonna set aside some time to think critically through this about how certain things could have been put in place to expedite certain conversations, certain documents being filled out,
Hmm.
to minimize misunderstandings that had occurred, all these different things. Because I know there's a solution to it. So
Yeah,
like I'm not going to be involved in um, three or four closings, even a week that create that type of condensed
chaos,
stress and
chaos.
chaos. I was like, no, we. I was like,
But sometimes it's unavoidable, even if you do have everything in place. It's just sometimes it's very unavoidable. I mean, because you know how much volume I do. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's even if you bring someone in, like remember when I helped you with the one, like you still had to stop what you were doing
I did.
and attempt because it's an emotional thing for people.
Mm-hmm.
And every transaction is different. Like the people's emotions are different. The title companies are different. So it's just par for the course. This is the business we've chosen, and that's just what it is. Sometimes when you're doing these kind of deals.
Yeah,
So
you're right. You're
but
right.
a good learning experience. And like you said, be able to tighten certain things up beforehand and have those conversations to have like a standard operating procedure, like, okay, and this to try to prevent it. But it happens all the time, like,
People.
yeah, people, period. Like
Mm.
and you could have a conversation with somebody and they still don't remember several times with somebody and still don't remember that you had that conversation. Or they're looking at you, they act like they understand exactly what you're saying, they hear the words coming out of your mouth, and how they interpreted it is not what you said.
It's totally different.
Yeah, it's totally different. And if you
Yeah.
ask them to, hey, so can you explain to me what your understanding is? And when they open their mouth, you'd be like, okay, so maybe I did not explain this correctly to you because that is not what I said. That is not what I said. Like, it's
Man.
like, okay, wait a minute. Like, what?
Yeah, I'm,
What is happening here?
yes, man, look,
Hey, I get it, trust me. So I had some double headers, some triple headers, I'm setting records for myself, and I'm just like, bro, like, yeah.
yeah.
So,
So, what you got going on? So we wrap up here. What you got?
uh, I need to go meet a property manager to grab a key for a listing I have coming up in Ferndale.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm super excited about. And I need to do a little bit of maintenance stuff online, follow up with some of the prospects that you sent over, steady knocking that down. And I've really been utilizing the tools on the app a lot. I have found it
Mm-hmm.
extremely helpful. Like
Mm-hmm.
people who I like back in the day, I'm like, oh, hey, what's going on? How's everything going? Bam, you know, just reactivate. And even somebody who was in a pre-cancel, and I talked to them and I was like, don't you still have this, and this going on? And they were like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, what's going
What
on? Like,
what
why,
we doing?
yeah,
Yeah.
why would you let that lapse? Like, what's happening? So it's been extremely helpful. And I feel like it's my goal for that business is to continue to build the pipeline, like how you are always talking about just building up your pipeline and
Mm-hmm.
just being steady and consistent with the activities and quality. Like I don't want to just target everybody. It's like, because some people are just a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, period. And it's not no offense to nobody. It's just like this is a waste of time. This person is clearly not on that level where they're seeking to level up. And that's okay.
Going.
It's
Yep.
fine. It's perfectly fine. It's
Yeah.
not a diss on them. It's just this is not where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
So got to limit the amount of time spent on that person.
There's somebody else to serve that person. It doesn't have to be you.